Wondering why your hemp bracelet doesn't get you stoned? There's a simple explanation, but it dates back in time to nearly 5,000 years ago. Hemp is what vegan milk and hippie backpacks are made of. Marijuana is that stuff you smoke or eat to get high. They sound like two completely different things, but there's a good chance someone has told you that they're basically the same. So does that mean you could burn your hemp backpack and get hella stoned on its fumes? Could you chug 10 liters of hemp milk at one time and get super wasted? Or at least chill enough to stop telling people what an awesome alternative to cow milk it is? Some may be sad to hear that the answer to both questions is no, but there's some truth to the statement that hemp and pots are the same thing. Kind of. Hemp and marijuana both come from the exact same cannabis plant, with the only difference between the two of them being the amount of tetrahydrocannabinol, or THC. If the dried cannabis in question has a THC content of 0.3% or less, it's hemp, and it can go in your organic smoothie. If the THC content is higher than 0.3%, it's marijuana, and it can be packed into joints and smoked. Why 0.3%? It's just a convention, one established in the 1979 book The Species Problem in Cannabis by Ernest Small. So could you smoke dried cannabis with a THC percentage of 0.3% that would otherwise become a hemp product? That's ultimately up to you, but we don't recommend it.
I've seen this kid before. He's one of the kids that sneaks onto my farm and steals my hemp.
Yeah, I know that guy. He's that farmer that goes really crappy weed.
As the Drug Enforcement Administration Museum explains, cannabis has been consumed as far back as 2727 BC. It was consumed by the most blazed of Chinese emperors, Shen Nung, but the plant grew in the wild long before it was collected and domesticated. If left untouched, this wild cannabis grows as large and potent as possible, especially if harvested in autumn. Still, such feral weed typically contains negligible amounts of THC. Domesticated pot migrated out from mid-Asia over the centuries. Cannabis reached Eastern Europe by 2000 BC, Northern Africa by the year 700, and Southern Africa by 1400. But it only started gaining popularity in North America in the 20th century. That provided plenty of time for farmers to figure out how to cultivate different strains. Hemp grows naturally in places like Nebraska, Minnesota, and Oklahoma. It doesn't contain tetrahydrocannabinolic acid, or THCA, which is the compound that produces the psychoactive THC that gets people high. The University of Saskatchewan reported in 2011 that a simple genetic switch turns off THCA production. Their conclusion? Essentially, this means that over thousands of years of cultivation, hemp farmers selectively bred cannabis sativa into two distinct strains, one for fiber and seed, and one for medicine. Hemp itself is a wildly versatile product. Along with hemp milk and hemp bags, it can be made into hemp oil, hemp flour, and hemp seeds. In discussions of this type of industrial hemp, the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development even mentions products like hemp biofuel and building materials. Not only is a cannabis plant sometimes described as miraculous in its applications, but it also uses far less water than other crops and absorbs more carbon dioxide. When it comes to the law, the 0.3% THC cutoff means that hemp and marijuana get treated very differently. 2018 was a key year for hemp in the United States, as Congress passed the 2018 Farm Bill to create a regulatory national framework for growing hemp like any other industrial crop. Around the world, hemp laws vary. The European Commission, for instance, has records of hemp seed regulations for commercial use dating back to 2003.
Why wouldn't they legalize this stuff?
Well, because, it's basically marijuana.
Ah!
Marijuana, as you might expect, is a different story. When Richard Nixon first launched America's war on drugs, marijuana was targeted alongside much more addictive and deadly narcotics like heroin and crack cocaine. Despite decades of PSAs and drug-related arrests, the majority opinion about cannabis has completely shifted in the years since. It's not limited to the US either. Even zero-tolerance countries like Japan have considered legalizing medical marijuana use.